Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we were in executive session for the purposes of interviewing a individual for the Woodstock Maintenance Service.
No.
Or, excuse me, WEC, not LC.
WEC.
I got my E's and L's.
Yeah, we get no say in the names.
Yeah. Public be heard? Do we have anybody? Come on up, Dorothea.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good. Well, I just wanted to update, I'm Dorothea Marcus, president of the library board, and I wanted to update the town board on what's happening in progress with the library, especially since lots of rumors fly around, including in the editorial of our local paper. And I wanted to let you know that our contract with Stephen Tilley, the architect, for $584,000 was approved by the board last year. And the contract has provisions for going in and out of hiatus, depending on our funding and where we're at in the process. So the board did not vote to go into hiatus, and we're not planning to vote to go back, to resume work with him. We've already started working with him again on the next phase. He finished schematic design, now we're in design development. And our new building chair, Howard Kagan, who's an architect who's done a lot of libraries, he and J.C. Altman, who's our construction manager agent, met with Tilley last week. And Tilley acknowledged that his cost estimators made some false assumptions about demolition, about windows, about mechanicals. And, J.C. had made a lot of recommendations, shrinking the square footage and some material substitution to get us back within our $4.4 million budget. And Tilley and his team are going to make their own proposals. They're going to look at it in terms of our space needs and working with Jessica on programming needs. And they're getting back with us in a couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
So we made it clear that we're firm in our budget. Okay? And there's not going to be a vote about his contract. We are going to be appointing someone for the board vacancy. We have 3 candidates who will be interviewed Thursday night, and whoever is appointed will have to run in October.
Right.
And we think everyone has library board's battle fatigue, and we're kind of disappointed to see, billboards and other stuff going up. Like, I feel this is primary season, we're not to the election yet, And, but we're determined to move forward. We have a very active capital campaign committee. We just put together a great honorary committee. We have enough money in our capital fund to pay Tilley for more than 3 months. And we have other things that have been promised that are coming in March. And we can always put them on hiatus again if we need to. But we want to get the construction documents, so we're definitely bonding on November 3rd at the general presidential election. Because we want as many people as possible to be able to vote and make it convenient for them.
Good.
So, presumably, that will decide things once and for all.
Excellent. Thank you,
Okay, so
Dorothea.
thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Before we get started, I have one announcement. Actually, I owe you an apology. I put down...
Wait, let me record.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's
No,
just
it's on tape.
Okay.
I was going to make an announcement about your book reading. I thought it was this weekend, so I missed it. But I understand that there was great crowds there, and it was well received. So,
Thank you.
Tell us a little about the book.
The book is about, well, I can't because they'll give away the ending.
Right, nobody read it.
Nobody read
Well,
it.
you don't have to. You don't have to give away money.
What's
You
the
don't
name?
have to give.
What's the name of
The
the book?
name of the book is Woodstock's Infamous Murder Trial. It's about social justice in upstate New York at the turn of the 20th century. It's about a murder trial, a murder that took place in Xena.
So it's a real murder.
It's a real murder, yes, not a fake one.
And it stars a 600-pound pig.
Really? Let's just leave it at that. If that doesn't get people to buy the book, I don't know what will.
He read the book, and that's all they came away with. But it raises the question about diversity in Woodstock. It raises the question about racism in Ulster County. It takes also, the trials and everything take place in Kingston. All I'll say is my goal is to bring out points in our history that may not always be comfortable, but that we need to look at. We have a great history in this town, musicians, artists, environment, whatever. But, you know, local history has its own burdens, and we need to examine them and think about it.
Well, thank you for shedding light on dark corners in Woodstock.
Well, it's not a dark corner. If you explore it and talk about it. And
Then it doesn't become a dark corner.
Right.
You're shining my light.
Otherwise,
there.
it stays a dark corner.
Right,
Thank you.
thank you.
And the pig only has a cameo.
Is it really 600 pounds?
Well, not anymore.
What was it really 600 pounds?
He moved to blood.
No, I made it up.
Think of a cameo.
Okay. Gonna hop over. Oh, thank you, Reggie. This is our business meeting. We'll stand to pledge the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job, gentlemen. What's that? What's nice?
Oh, yeah, or do we have mics?
We use an internal mic.
Oh, can it hear us?
We'll find out.
I can hear us.
Pretty good.
So, couple of resolutions. Be it resolved to accept minutes for meetings held on January 21st and February 11th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I have to take notes here too, so. Be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to authorize payments of ordered vouchers in the amount of $2,342,080.69.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
We should note that that includes
The library.
the library and the fire department.
Yes.
Fire district.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill wanted to hold on to them longer, but he didn't get enough interest off them yet.
That was for his brother-in-law. Be it resolved to authorize transfers per transfer sheet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You guys are making it hard on me tonight. 'cause
You have
you're
no
all taking
names.
turns
And
here.
you can't just put an L down for
I
Lauren.
know. Be it resolved to accept the resignation of Michael Atzett from the town of Woodstock Highway Department effective February 26, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And we should thank him for his service. Well, he wasn't there very long, but.
Be it resolved to hire Kyle Van Valkenburg as 30-day full-time temporary police officer effective March 1st, 2020, at a rate of $24.78.
Second.
Could I just go back a second?
On this one, or did
No, the,
let's just vote on this, it's on the table.
oh, we didn't vote, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
What, how many openings do we now have in the highway department?
2.
Two.
Oh, okay.
That includes Michael Levy.
I believe it's 2. I'd have to check with Mike, and I know that they have one gentleman that, who they're about to hire. I think he's gonna start at the end of the month. So it's 1, I believe. Be it resolved to appoint Nick Food Fod to the Woodstock Environmental Commission, term to expire 12/31/22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That was a quick meeting. So last week we talked a little bit about the building project, and we agreed that everyone would go down in pairs to meet with the architects. But before we start to talk about that, Lauren, we talked about both at the table last week and afterwards, getting a letter from the WLC, so they're not willing to do that.
I didn't expect that they would.
What they want is for us to go through the entire process, so we would have to come up with a plan.
A plot plan. Right, they don't need to see mechanical drawings of the building.
I don't know.
They need just a floor plan of where it's gonna be.
That would all have to be discussed, I don't know. Because, I mean, right now, we're going through the process for an approval, and they want to see everything. So I don't know. you're the liaison, do you want to go and converse with them and get a clearer picture of what they're gonna require to make such a decision?
I could call one of them
Okay.
and ask them about that.
Can I raise a question on that?
Yeah.
When you went originally, were you required to have a plot plan and all the paperwork done and everything?
We never got that far.
Well, you met with them. And they said they weren't inclined to grant the line change.
They said the feeling,
I mean, you met with them, you presented the idea.
yes, they never came back and said one way or the other. So, but I will say that, you know, one of the things in there, the stipulations is that there's not another option. It's not the exact language, I can read it if you want.
But who decides that?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's another thing.
Okay.
Well, so for what the walkers showed us when we went, because Reggie, Marie, Elaine, and I all went on Saturday, and for what he showed us, which I'll call the current plan, we wouldn't need a change in the WSC line, right? WLC line.
The current, the plan with the walkers?
Yeah, the one that they.
Correct.
And I will say, I personally, while I was worried previously, I like the current plan. They've made changes since I had seen it before, and I like the current plan.
Mhm.
They were still gonna come forward with some samples of things, like, you know, a sample of the siding of this building, a sample of the siding of the new building, which actually had that sample. I'd like to see the shingle sample for this building, of what it's gonna look like, and what is the roof gonna look like on the addition. So, I'd like to see some more samples, but I don't, in my opinion, I am happy with what they've done to listen to everybody who's given them input, and the changes that they have made now. I am comfortable, the worries I had before about what are the townspeople gonna think when they see it, as they're driving up Como Drive, I think that it's gonna be okay. So I'm comfortable with what I saw on Saturday based on, and I think that they've listened. I think they've done a great job of having a lot of people come in and making a lot of changes. They also had a lot of block figures, we'll call them, because they said, well, here's what they showed us, all the white building, and then, well, if we did what so-and-so said, it would look like this, and they took off a piece and they put on what it would look like, and you could really get a good visual, I thought. And then here's what it looked like here. So they had all these block differences of what different people might have thought would be smart. And as they put these different examples up, I thought what they've decided so far, so what I call the current architecture, I like what they've decided, and I very much liked that they had all these other structures that they could just swap in and out and really give a good visual. And that's what caused me to be a believer now, whereas I was a worrier a week ago. I'm in the boat at this point.
Can I also just add that while they're mindful of the aesthetics, when they mentioned driving up, the first thing that you see will be this main building. So, you know, kind of having a blend of the old and the new and making it more seamless, I think is important, you know, the aesthetics, but also being mindful of weather conditions, you know, making sure that the lines go certain directions so that this way when there's heavy rainfall, things like that, they were very mindful. And also, you know, being mindful of things like that big tree that's...
The beech tree.
The beech tree, right. So, you know, they're mindful of the surrounding area and, you know, and respectful of it.
Right.
As well as wanting it to look good, but also for it to be functional. And I know that we were talking about some other things, the inside, like the flooring and things like that, things that I know has to be discussed, but, you know, there are things that they can be flexible on. And then they also made some good points as well. So, certainly.
You know, I know that one thing that's been discussed too, because Richard, you've got a couple of different ideas, and I'll let you talk about that, but just that we would be having ask for additional bids. So we would put out the package, and then we would ask for an additional bid for different type roofing, for different type siding. So at some point prior to the construction, we would have to sit down and go through the list and look at what the different options are going to cost, and then make a decision about which one to go with. So, yeah, you will be looking at a number of samples.
Well, he did say though, With the slope of the roof, he thought the aluminum roof was the way to go with the addition because of the slope, so I'm not sure how much choice you'll have
I
on
think more
material
choice for
for this
this,
building.
be it slate, a simulated slate,
Sure, right.
or the architectural shingles.
Gotcha.
So, Richard?
I'd rather hear what,
Okay,
I'm listening to me.
okay. Reggie?
I had to feel like it was a good meeting on Saturday. I came in, very little. It's my first time sitting down with architects to discuss a building, but they were very, they answered a lot of questions, got a lot of information. I was impressed with the fact that they were open and that they sat down, I know with Richard and Lauren on Friday, and were able to, hear what they were concerned about, and it seemed like that was answered, and I felt good about it with the current status of things.
Councilman Rose?
Well, you don't have to sell it to me, you just gotta get your votes and float your bond. I just don't like the way it's, I don't particularly like the design, but I don't like that. What I don't like less is that the land conservancy is making this project gonna be more expensive. And to me, that means there is no other option, because it's taxpayers' money, it's taxpayer property, and I don't think they understand that.
Did he come down with that? Because I noticed looked at both, and I don't know, did this option come out more expensive than that?
He wouldn't commit to that one way or another. But, the land conservancy is not elected by anybody. They're not appointed by anybody that's elected. They just get together and say, oh yeah, we'll tell you exactly what you're gonna do. And I don't think they should be able to do that on taxpayer property. So that's my opinion.
It's a good point, but a different issue, maybe, I don't think we can solve that issue at a different time. It's a good,
What,
very good point.
after we build it?
Well, no, I mean, the whole idea of what the WLC is, I don't know if we can make a change at this point in time, but I understand your point.
So I see two possible avenues to take. One is to proceed on with a vote for the bonding resolution to set up the bonding and schedule to have the walkers come in and do a presentation of a fairly complete building. And the second is to let Councilman Rose have some discussion with the WLC.
Well, that's not gonna change anything, so.
But listen, I mean,
Yeah, no, I will give them, I'll call Kevin and talk to them and see if they have any willingness to try to make it work. And if they don't, then that's the way it is.
okay. So if they're unwilling to go that route, you're comfortable enough?
Yeah, we
I
gotta,
know you don't.
we gotta do something,
Mhm.
right? So if that's the best we can do, then I'm okay with it,
Okay,
but it's not my first choice.
okay. Good with that too?
No, I mean, in part, but let me say, I just want to make a couple of clarifications. One last meeting, Lauren Rose and I are not the task force. Okay? And so, that was something the supervisor threw out, and we were out
And
on
very quickly changed.
Yeah, but the legend has lived on.
Right, the committee is working very hard.
As far as I know, you and Lauren were the committee. And I still want to hear more from the Land Conservancy. I hear different things, and so I'd wait for Lauren to get back to us.
So
Hold on, let me finish.
would you be willing to work with them on that? You know,
I'll work with anybody.
Okay.
That said, I sent you all my feelings about how this thing should be handled if we cannot go the other way. That includes the roof, that includes the siding, that includes transitioning this building into the new part in a more of an arts and crafts style. It includes the windows, it includes the doors, it includes landscaping, it includes stonework, and making this look like it belongs here. If it doesn't, I can't vote for it. So that's where I stand. I say also a brief synopsis of the history of this building and the intent of the architect who built it, who was a rather famous architect, Frank Wallace. It is a Dutch colonial outside, it's an arts and craft inside, and I think we need to maintain that. The notion that we need to make that look different so it doesn't, try to I don't understand. But, I understand people have different interpretations in terms of architecture. So that's where I am. I'm willing to keep moving and get this one. I'll say this has to be done in one form or another. The accessibility issue is extremely important to me. And number two, this building was never meant to take the traffic it's taken over the last 3 decades. It just can't, we're damaging a nice building, a historic building, and we need to move on. So that's where I am.
That I agree. So, Richard, could you do us a favor?
No.
Well, then I'll request it anyway.
Give me one.
It doesn't have to be a favor. The email you sent, and then I responded back, I think you responded, we've been going back and forth. Most of the things...
Oh, let me just want to, and CCD still has some concerns, and I think they need to be addressed as well.
Yes, and I think most of their concerns from the last time they were there have been met.
Well,
But-
I want to hear that from them. Okay.
The architect is planning to go back there. The only thing I would suggest
I
is,
think, though, from what I saw today, a couple of emails, CCD is waiting for us to see which way we're heading.
that's what I was gonna say, is I think we should be, before the architect goes back again to the CCD, I think we should make sure that we're pretty comfortable with everything that the architect has put forward. So the couple of things, we discussed the roof, that's pretty straightforward, I get that. We've discussed wood floors versus carpeting, that's pretty straightforward.
Or do we decide them?
No
The
decisions.
discussions, right.
But those,
Or the discussions?
to me, that's clear.
That we have to discuss it,
We have to discuss it and ask for additional pricing on it,
right.
so that we have options and we can look at it and make a decision. And listen, weigh in on what Richard we're talking
Well,
about.
I'd like to.
And some of these-
Okay, but just let me
Give you a
finish.
turn,
Yeah.
Some of these things are also under the CCD concerns, so, but I don't know where they are.
Interesting though, I think
I'm
one
not sure where they are exactly.
One of the things that I think they liked is the clapboard cement siding.
I know.
Yeah, so there's conflict between the architect and CCD, between us and
Yeah, but in the letter they sent us, they did state rather emphatically they're uncomfortable with the design.
Mhm. So that's got to go back. But here's the one thing you could just help clarify for me is what was it, the craftsman?
Arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts.
Interior.
This is it.
Yeah, but what you envision in there.
Well, I think there has to be a transition, whether it's through the entryway into there.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of carpet, frankly,
Mhm.
but, we take it as we go.
Right.
It's
But
not
that
a
was-
decision we're making now, so.
No, it isn't, but and I'm not asking you
I'd
to
like to
test.
see more wood in the new addition. If
Yeah,
we're going to-
they're talking about hospital corners or all the window trim being like hospital
Mhm.
mold. And that to me is too industrial.
So you'd like to see wood trim in there, maybe the same dark stain with white finish.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
But
That's
that's,
the type of thing we're talking about, yeah.
but that's, we should be talking about it now and not wait, so that we
No,
have.
but we're not done, we're not in that direction yet.
Right.
We're not totally committed to that direction. So
Correct.
Let's take it one step at a time.
I want to
I
have
don't
it
want to jump ahead and
understood. I just want to have a clear,
feel like we're committing to something we're not actually committing.
we're not. I just want to have a clear understanding. I understand what you're looking for with the siding.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Yeah, carry it through. Carry the arts and craft through.
Just a little update on the history of this building. This property was purchased by the town under the guise of consolidating all the town services here.
Yeah.
Right? And then somebody, when the easement came in here, arbitrarily drew a line on the map that cripples doing anything on the back of this building. And the fact that they wouldn't even look at that line and say, oh yeah, we gotta move this for you, we gotta help somehow with this, because this line is just prohibitive. To me, that's just, I don't understand how it gets to this point. So,
Well, you can reach out to them.
I will. I'll call Kevin Smith, my neighbor, see if he'll come have coffee with us somewhere.
Right. I mean, they've indicated they're willing, if we put a proposal in, they will entertain it.
I'll ask them what they need for it, whether they need more than a plot plan. I don't see why they would. You know, once the land swap, the technical part of the building really isn't their business.
They're sure spending a lot of time looking at it right now.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
okay.
Well,
All right, so you guys are good with that? Lauren will take some time and, a week or two, and can you, because we don't have a meeting for a while,
I'll let you know. I'll call Kevin. I'll try to call him tomorrow.
and then send out an email about what you think this is gonna take.
What went down, yeah.
And maybe you could just also, try and nail them down to a time frame. Is this
Yeah,
something,
for the process.
is this gonna,
Yeah, no, if they're gonna, to me, if they say it's gonna take 5 years, that's the same as saying no.
right,
So
okay.
if they're not willing to help us, which I don't see why they wouldn't, that part I don't understand, other than they're a little power hungry in there. But
Okay, everybody good?
we'll see if we can
Well,
make it
you
work.
give me a turn to talk.
Okay,
Is my turn?
go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to, you said that everybody wanted to answer what Richard said, and yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. So, so I guess one thought that I have is, I'd be interested in more detail of what it means, like the arts and crafts interior. You're kind of talking about that now with the wood and some of the colors. I know what the Walkers had explained to us, and I do agree with them, is that whatever the addition is, it'll be nice if it complements this building as opposed to competing with the building. So if we try to make everything identical to this building, in a way it may be competing, but if it's a little more understated, then this building that is so historic that everybody loves will be the main attraction. So I agree with that. I also agree with their point about siding, where if they try to match what's on this building identically, then it's going to have to be painted because there's not an identical match. The material that they want to do will be good for 100 years, they said. So it'll be very low maintenance, it won't have to be painted. So there are some practical considerations besides. I would love to do what Richard says, though. I would love to have some kind of a compromise solution where we do take the look and feel of this building and we do make the addition look like it belongs and get some more specific ideas of how we do that. Because I would love to make it look like it belongs, but I also like the idea, it's kind of like if you go get a picture framed, you don't want the frame to compete with the picture. You want the frame to enhance the picture, and this building, in my view, is what is to be enhanced.
Right. So I know they've done that a little bit. For instance, the wood floor will flow down this hall into the conference / lunchroom.
Right.
I know they have similar style, the same style doors, Richard? Did you look at those? For the
I
interior?
asked Les about the doors, he said they'll match this building.
Yeah, okay. So there will be some tie-in. We can do match the stain trim around the windows in there.
Yeah, and then the outside, I think the stain is white, right? Not stained, but I think they're painted. Aren't the
The windows
windows?
are white,
The
yes.
windows are white on the outside,
Yeah.
and and it is a beautiful wood. So, and we should nail down some of these details because it will make a difference on cost. But I agree, we want people to love the whole building as much as they love this piece of the building to death. I agree that we want people to be happy when they're here, so.
We're always happy when we're here.
We're happy.
And now that Lauren's the head of the task force, I can...
Now,
Happy day for you.
happy days are here,
He
here.
said that, not me.
Nick, could you take that down, please? Maybe you can get the phone call.
But he did say he'd help him. So I guess that technically he's on the
No, I
task
didn't
force.
say it helped him.
You said you
You
said
said you help anybody.
He said we'll help.
Oh, I look in him.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Do you have something else?
Try to think.
Okay, hold on.
No?
Sure?
What was the
Bring it in.
what was the kid's name?
The only other thing I was gonna mention, as far as like wood floors, well, I like the idea of wood floors. I know that they had mentioned though that
Noise.
functionality, yeah, the acoustics, and as well as when people come in and, you know, in inclement weather, it damages, you know, the wood and things like that. So I would say that that's maybe just another consideration. But I do aesthetically appreciate, you know, wood flooring.
I do have to say one thing. Councilman Hefner and I were talking about the wood
5 minutes
floor.
ago, huh?
Councilman Hefner and I were talking about wood floor, and he says, well, we don't get any complaints about the second floor. And I said, that's because it's carpeted. All right, you were going to say something?
I think, you know, I'm not wedded, as I said in my email, I am not wedded to anything. This is a 5-vote deal here. But I do think it disrespects this building and the beauty of this building if we put in something that just doesn't match. It's as simple as that.
And I'd love to have it go together.
Yeah.
I would love to have it go together for sure.
I don't think you'll have an absolute match, but I think that there's a way.
Well, there's never going to be an absolute
Right,
match unless we
but
want to grow. But I also think we need to think more about tying them together. I think it's, I also hadn't mentioned, we're putting stone from the back porch around a little bit, creating a patio off the conference room, the sliding doors. You know, I think more use of stone somehow. I don't want to see picnics out in the courtyard.
You don't want that?
No, I don't want picnic tables. And I want to see picnics, I'm sorry, I don't want to see picnic tables. I'd like to see a nice courtyard established there with some nice furniture, some stone.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be blue stone.
How about porta potties?
Now, we'll put
So
those,
if we're gonna do that, then
I mean,
we,
just use your imagination and what this building looks like and the stone and the wood and everything, and how we can do it, and do it, you know, I'm not saying break the bank here either. I'm very concerned about cost though.
then we should look at some door into that courtyard then somewhere.
Yeah.
Be it from this hallway,
You're looking somewhat, I'm sorry, Bill.
a door into this courtyard here, there should be some door into that. And I think one of the concerns, we don't want to have it down at the far end, because we don't want it to become.
They don't want people entering.
You don't
Yeah.
want it to be the entrance. If you have
Right.
But we could tuck it right here,
Sure, where it's not visible.
Yeah.
I see the water.
and then people could go out to the courtyard.
Yeah, stuff like that, you know. Let's do it right, and let's think about landscaping and what's gonna be there after it's all dug up and built and put back together.
And I think that can be fairly simple with some nice shrubs. I mean, I agree, that
I'm
wall,
not a landscaper, so I'm not.
yeah.
And I don't think any of us want to
You
see
might be
something that's
before this is
complete-
over.
Yeah, it's heading that way.
I don't think any of us want to see, you know, something that is completely jarring to the eye. We want to see something that's a compliment, and I like that. And talking with them on
This
Saturday.
is really the fault of Nick, frankly.
It's next one.
Oh, absolutely.
After they put that picture in the paper,
God.
That wasn't the
Wait,
greatest
you showed
picture.
people?
That was just,
well, we hadn't seen
It was
it.
on the front page of
We
the
never
Times.
saw the picture.
I've never seen it. It's like, oh no.
None of us had actually, and it was not, there wasn't good reference to it. It almost made it look like the addition was going on the front, which freaked
It
people out.
wasn't a great angle.
No, it wasn't very
it looked
good.
like a double wide with it blown up against the equipment shed.
Double wide blown up against an equipment shed. I like that.
Nick, would you also note that Councilman Hefner is against picnics?
No fun.
You heard it. No picnics
young children
in this
indoors.
town. And children.
And young children and dogs.
And he has a grudge against a good humor man.
I knew we should have stopped.
Well, you stopped me. I was ready to adjourn.
Picnics in this
You
town.
reap what you sow.
I heard a second for you.
Now are you ready to adjourn?
Adjourned.
Well, let me think, well, who can I make fun of?
What else are you against? Butterflies?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, boy.
No rainbows in this town.
Oh, absolutely.